I woke up and couldn't move. The engine was off, the meter dark, the streetlights bleeding orange through the windshield of my Dodge Charger. My name's Malik Jackson, 34, and I've been driving Uber nights in Detroit for 3 years now, ever since the Ring took my knee and gave me a limp instead of a title. It's 3:17 a.m. on a Tuesday, somewhere off Gratiot Avenue, and the city's asleep, except for the drunks, the dealers, and me. My hands are locked on the wheel, my foot frozen above the brake, and in the rearview mirror, nothing. But I feel him, the passenger, back seat, center, breathing slow like he's been waiting. The car smells like vinyl and the pine tree air freshener I replace every month. My phone's mounted on the dash, Uber app glowing. Ride ended 10 minutes ago, tip still pending. I'd pulled over after dropping a loud college kid at a frat house on Woodward. Just needed a second to stretch the knee, rub the scar that still aches when the weather turns. Closed my eyes for what I thought was a blink. Then this, the paralysis. It's not new. Started after the injury, got worse after the divorce. Hits hardest when I'm alone in the car between fares. But tonight's different. Tonight, he's here. I try to turn my head. Nothing. My neck's a brick. My chest rises and falls shallow, the seatbelt cutting into my shoulder. The dashboard clock ticks to 3:18. I focus on my right hand, the one that used to throw hooks that ended fights in the third round. Move, damn it! A finger twitches. Good. I breathe, slow, like Coach used to make me before a bout. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The air tastes like exhaust and cold. I feel the passenger shift behind me, leather creaking under weight that isn't there. My skin crawl. I've seen things in this job. Fights in the back seat, puke on the mats, a girl crying so hard she couldn't give an address. But never this. Never a rider who doesn't show in the mirror. I dropped him off. I know I did. Tall guy, hoodie up, paid cash, said keep the change in a voice like gravel. Got out at a burned-out house on the east side, door slamming so hard the car shook. I watched him walk away, or thought I did. Now he's back. We're never left. The street's dead. No cars, no dogs, just the hum of a distant generator and the faint bass from a club 3 blocks over. My phone buzzes. A new ride request, 2.4 miles away. I can't move, can't cancel, can't scream. The passenger leans forward. I feel his breath on my neck, warm, sour, like cheap whiskey and menthols. Drive, he says, low, calm. My blood freezes. I know that voice. It's mine. Older, rougher. The one I hear in my head when I replay the night I blew out my knee in the 10th round. The night the ref stopped the fight and the crowd went quiet. I fight the paralysis like I fought in the ring. Focus, breathe, strike. I picture my glove connecting, the jolt up my arm, the roar of the crowd. My pinky moves, then ring finger. The passenger chuckles, a sound like knuckles on a heavy bag. You're slow now, champ. My jaw unclenches, just enough to let out a grunt. The meter flips to 3:19. I force air into my lungs, deep, the way Coach taught me to recover between rounds. You're not real. You're stress. You're the knee. You're the divorce. You're the empty apartment. I repeat it like a mantra. My right hand peels off the wheel, slow, shaking. I slam it into my thigh. Pain wakes the nerves. The passenger hisses. My left foot twitches, finds the brake. I stomp it once, hard, the car rocking. The spell cracks. I gasp, full lungful, and twist in the seat. The back seat's empty. Just my gym bag, a water bottle, the faint indent where the college kids sat. The mirror shows nothing but the headrest. I laugh, ragged, relieved, half crazy. The clock reads 3:21. 4 minutes, longest yet. I rub my knee, the scar throbbing like it remembers the punch. My phone buzzes again. Ride canceled. 1-star review incoming. I don't care. I start the engine, the Charger growling to life, and pull back onto Gratiot. The city's awake now. Headlights in the distance, a siren wailing toward the river. I crank the heat, crack the window, let the cold slap me awake. My hands shake on the wheel, but they move. I glance in the mirror every few seconds, half expecting him. Nothing. I stop at a 24-hour Coney Island on Mack Avenue, order coffee and a chili dog through the window. The cashier, a tired woman with braids, nods like she's seen drivers like me before. Eyes red, hands jittery, talking to themselves. I eat in the parking lot, neon buzzing overhead, steam fogging the glass. I pull out my phone, open the Notes app. My new journal, started after the 3rd episode in the car. I type with greasy fingers. 3:17 to 3:21 a.m. Gratiot and Connor. Passenger back. Voice equals mine. Said drive. Broke with pain plus breath. He's me, the fighter I lost. I save it. Stare at the screen. The knee aches. The coffee burns. The city pulses. I accept the next ride. 2.8 miles, $9.40. Pick up at a bar on Jefferson. I pull out, tires humming, mirror empty. But as I merge onto the lodge, the leather creaks behind me again. Soft, like someone settling in for the long haul.
The leather creaked again, just as I hit the on-ramp to the lodge freeway. I checked the mirror. Empty. Still, the sound crawled under my skin like a warning jab. I'm Malik Jackson, 34, night shift Uber driver in Detroit, and the passenger who isn't there has been riding with me since 3 a.m. I dropped the college kid, fought the paralysis, broke it with pain and breath, but the seat behind me keeps talking. Not with words now, just presence, weight, memory. The city blurred past, abandoned houses, neon liquor stores, the Ambassador Bridge glowing in the distance. My phone pinged. Rider ETA 2 minutes. I pulled up to the bar on Jefferson, engine idling, heart still racing from the episode. The new fare stumbled out, a woman in a red coat, heels clicking, breath fogging in the cold. She slid in back, center, same spot. "Hey driver, you good with heat?" Her voice was warm, slurred, but kind. I cranked it. "Yes, ma'am," she laughed. "Ma'am, call me Keisha." I nodded, eyes on the road, mirror on her reflection. Real, solid, phone glowing. No ghost. We rolled toward Corktown, her chatting about a bad date, me half listening, half scanning the back seat for movement that wasn't hers. The leather stayed quiet, for now. I dropped Keisha on a loft on Michigan Avenue. 5-star tip. "You're a sweetheart." I smiled, forced. The meter reset. I pulled over under a streetlight, rubbed my knee, the scar pulsing like a heartbeat. I opened the Notes app, added to the journal. 3:45 a.m. New rider, real. Passenger silent. Knee hurts when he's near. Pattern? I stared at the screen. The passenger wasn't random. He was me, the boxer I buried after the injury. The voice that said slow when I couldn't throw the hook that ended my career. I needed to go back to the first time I froze, to the gym, to coach. I was 14, living in a duplex on the east side with my mom and little sister, Aisha. Money was tight. Mom worked doubles at the hospital. I swept the gym after school for pocket change. Coach Rico ran the place like a church. Cracked leather bags, faded posters of Ollie and Fraser, the smell of sweat and bleach. I was good. Fast hands, long reach, a jab that snapped heads back. Coach saw it. "Kid's got fire," he'd say, slapping my back. But fire needs fuel, and mine was fear. Fear of ending up like Dad, gone before I was born. Fear of letting Mom down. The first paralysis hit after a sparring session. I'd gone 10 rounds with Darnell, a senior with a mean right. He clipped my jaw, lights flashed, but I stayed up. Coach yelled, "Shake it off." I did. Went home, crashed on the couch. Mom at work, Aisha had a friend's. I woke, or thought I did, and couldn't move. The living room was dark, just the glow from the streetlight through the blinds. My body was lead, my breath stuck. And in the corner, by the TV, a shadow, tall, hooded, breathing slow. I tried to yell for Aisha, for Mom, for Coach. Nothing. My heart slammed like a speed bag. The shadow stepped closer, boots heavy on the carpet. I felt it lean over the couch, breath on my face, sweat, liniment, the gym. "You're soft," it said, voice low, familiar. Coach's voice, but colder. "Can't take a punch." I panicked, mind screaming, "Move, Malik, move!" But my arms were glued, my legs dead. The shadow raised a glove, slow, like it was about to throw the hook that ended me. I focused on my right hand, the one that threw the jab. Twitch. Nothing. I breathed, short, sharp, like between rounds. The shadow paused. I pictured the bag, the rhythm, the snap. My finger moved. Then my hand. The spell broke, and I bolted upright, gasping, the room empty. I ran to the bathroom, splashed water, stared in the mirror, eyes wide, jaw bruised from Darnell. The shadow was gone, but the fear stayed. I didn't tell Mom. She'd worry, call the doctor, miss work. I didn't tell Aisha. She was 10, into dolls, not my nightmares. Next day at the gym, I told Coach. We were wrapping hands, the radio playing old school R&B. "Coach, last night I woke up, couldn't move, saw a shadow, said I was soft." He didn't look up, just taped my knuckles tight. "Nightmare, kid. Happens when you take a shot to the head. Ice it, sleep it off." I pushed. It felt real. He met my eyes hard. "Real's the ring, Malik. Shadows don't pay bills. Focus." I tried. Sparred harder, ran longer, ignored the ache in my jaw, the fear in my gut. The episodes came random, once a month, always at night, always with the shadow, always Coach's voice, soft, slow, quitter. I'd break free, with breath, with pain, pinching my arm, biting my tongue. By 16, I was undefeated in the amateurs, Golden Gloves champ, Coach calling me his ticket. But the shadow followed, closer each time, gloves up, ready to finish what Darnell started. Back in the Charger, present day, I pulled into a gas station on Livernois, filled up, grabbed a Red Bull. The knee throbbed, the passenger silent but near. I opened the notes. Flashback, 14, first freeze, Coach's voice, soft, pattern equals shame after hits.
I stared at the screen. The passenger wasn't just the boxer I lost. He was the kid I buried, the one Coach ignored, the one who froze when he should have fought. I accepted a ride, 3.2 miles, $11, pickup at a club on Woodward. I rolled out, mirror empty, but the leather creaked again, soft, like a glove tapping the bag. The rider was a DJ, still hyped, smelling of weed and cologne. He rapped along to his own mix, oblivious. I drove, eyes flicking to the mirror, his reflection clear, the passenger's absence louder. At the drop-off, he tipped big. "You're chill, man." I nodded, pulled over, rubbed my knee. The journal grew. Quote, 4:12 a.m., real rider, passenger quiet, knee worse, pattern, shame equals him, end quote. I needed more. Coach, the gym, the night I blew out the knee. But as I merged onto I-75, the leather creaked loud and the mirror fogged, a handprint forming where no hand was. The handprint in the fog stayed there, 5 fingers, palm wide, like it was pressed from the inside. I'm Malik Jackson, 34, Uber driver on the graveyard shift in Detroit, and the Charger's backseat had become my new ring. The passenger, who isn't in the mirror, left his mark on the glass, then vanished when I wiped it with my sleeve. The knee screamed, the journal on my phone filled with patterns. Shame equals him. Coach's voice from age 14, the shadow's gloves, the night I lost everything. I needed answers, not just memories. So I did what any fighter does when he's down. I looked for the next move.
I pulled into a 24-hour lot off 8 Mile, engine ticking as it cooled. The sky was turning that dirty purple before dawn, streetlights still buzzing. I grabbed a stale coffee from the dash cup holder, opened the browser on my phone, and typed, "Can't move in sleep, see shadow in car." Google spat back forums, Reddit threads, medical sites, sleep paralysis, hypnagogic hallucinations, stress, trauma. I scrolled, thumb greasy, heart picking up. One thread on Reddit, r/sleep paralysis, had thousands of posts. People frozen in beds, on couches, in cars. Shadows, hags, demons, voices. I clicked the post titled, "Driver here, passenger in back, mirror empty." My breath caught. Users/Nighthauler22 wrote, "I drive Lyft in Chicago. Wake up between rides, can't move, feel someone behind me. Mirror shows nothing. Started after I totaled my cab in a wreck. Anyone else?" Comments poured in. Uber drivers, truckers, cabbies. Mine says my old route numbers. Mine smells like the crash, burnt rubber. Breathe through it, count to 10. I created an account, Motor City Ghost, and replied. Detroit Uber. Passenger equals me. Boxer I was. Knee injury ended it. Says I'm slow. Handprint on glass tonight. How do you fight? I hit send, hands shaking. The lot was quiet, just a stray cat crossing the yellow lines. Minutes later, replies. User/shift shadow. Welcome, champ. Journal it. Patterns equal power. User/backseat banshee. Mine sits where my ex did. Talk to it in your head. Tell it to pay the fare. User/Nighthauler22. DM me. We drivers got a stick. I laughed, short, surprised. Not alone. I bookmarked the thread, joined a Discord linked in the sidebar, Night Shift Paralysis Crew. Drivers from LA, Miami, Toronto. Voice chat open 24/7. I lurked, headphones in, coffee cold. A guy from Philly, voice gravelly, New York accent, talked live. Episode last night. Felt hands on the wheel. Breathed box. 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out. Broken 3 minutes. Log it, brothers. I typed in chat. Trying box. Handprint real? Instant. Real to your brain. Log the trigger.
I opened my notes, started a new page. Triggers. Long shift. Knee pain. Empty back seat. Shame. Coach. Fight. Divorce. I added, handprint equals proof. The Discord pinged. A DM from Nighthauler22. Handprint equals your brain externalizing guilt. Mine leaves brake marks. Photo it next time. I stared at the fogged glass, gone now, but the chill stayed. I snapped a pic anyway, uploaded to the chat. Replies, classic. Frame it. Breathe, king. Dawn broke, pinks and golds over the projects. I accepted a ride. Airport run, $42. 5 a.m. pickup at a hotel on the river. The passenger was a businessman, suit crisp, AirPods in, silent. I drove smooth, mirror clear, knee quiet. Dropped him at DTW, 5-star, great ride. I pulled into the cell lot, engine off, and opened the Discord voice channel. 3 drivers online. I spoke, first time. Malik, Detroit, first handprint tonight. Boxer, X, passenger equals me. Silence then. Welcome to the fight, Malik. Log the knee pain, that's your tell. Box breathe when it hits, we got you. I leaned back, seat creaking, real this time. The lot filled with early flights, engines rumbling. My phone buzzed, mom texting, breakfast after shift? I smiled, typed, on my way. I started the car, pulled out, mirror empty, but as I merged onto I-94, the leather creaked again, soft, and the fog returned. A new print, smaller, like a kid's glove. I opened my notes, started a new page. Triggers. Long shift. Knee pain. Empty back seat. Shame. Coach. Fight. Divorce. I added, handprint equals proof. The Discord pinged.
A DM from Nighthauler22. Handprint equals your brain externalizing guilt. Mine leaves brake marks. Photo it next time. I stared at the fogged glass, gone now, but the chill stayed. I snapped a pic anyway, uploaded to the chat. Replies, classic. Frame it. Breathe, king. Dawn broke, pinks and golds over the projects. I accepted a ride. Airport run, $42. 5 a.m. pickup at a hotel on the river. The passenger was a businessman, suit crisp, AirPods in, silent. I drove smooth, mirror clear, knee quiet. Dropped him at DTW, 5-star, great ride. I pulled into the cell lot, engine off, and opened the Discord voice channel. 3 drivers online. I spoke, first time. Malik, Detroit, first handprint tonight. Boxer, X, passenger equals me. Silence then. Welcome to the fight, Malik. Log the knee pain, that's your tell. Box breathe when it hits, we got you. I leaned back, seat creaking, real this time. The lot filled with early flights, engines rumbling. My phone buzzed, mom texting, breakfast after shift? I smiled, typed, on my way. I started the car, pulled out, mirror empty, but as I merged onto I-94, the leather creaked again, soft, and the fog returned. A new print, smaller, like a kid's glove.
The fog on the mirror faded slow, like breath on a cold window in winter, and I drove east on I-94 with the sunrise painting the skyline gold and pink. The Detroit River sliding quiet beside me, carrying barges that looked like toys from up here on the bridge. I'm Malik Jackson, 34, night shift Uber driver, former boxer with a knee that clicks when the weather turns. And the handprint from the invisible passenger still tingled in my memory, even though the glass was clear again. The Discord crew had welcomed me into their late-night circle, drivers from cities I'd never visit, all of us trading stories about shadows that ride shotgun when the meter's off, and their calm voices lingered in my headphones like a lullaby I didn't know I needed. Mom's text waited on the dash, pancakes when you get here, baby. And the promise of her kitchen warm with butter and cinnamon pulled me home through the waking city. I took the Chalmers exit, rolled past familiar corners where corner stores were just raising metal gates and early buses hissed at stops, and the street smelled of wet leaves and diesel and the faint sweetness of someone's first cigarette of the day. My duplex came into view, brick-tired but proud, porch light still on because Mom never turns it off until I'm inside, and I parked the Charger in the narrow drive, engine ticking itself to sleep while I sat a moment longer, letting the quiet settle over me like a blanket. The back seat was empty, the gym bag slumped where I'd left it, water bottle half full and sweating in the cup holder, and for the first time in weeks, the leather didn't creak on its own. I grabbed my phone, opened the notes, and added softly to the growing list. Handprint gone by sunrise, knee quiet, Mom's pancakes waiting. Maybe the passenger rests when the city wakes.
Inside, the house smelled exactly as promised. Butter melting in the skillet, cinnamon drifting from the oven where biscuits rose golden, and Mom's humming floated from the kitchen, an old Luther Vandross tune she sung since I was small. She turned when my boots crossed the threshold, apron tied tight, gray streaks in her braids catching the morning light, and her smile wrapped around me warmer than any blanket. "There's my champion," she said, voice soft as the syrup she was warming on the stove, and I let her pull me into a hug that smelled of vanilla and home and everything the ring never gave me. We ate at the little table by the window, plates piled high, coffee steaming between us, and I told her about the long shift, the college kid who tipped in crumpled singles, the businessman who slept the whole ride to the airport, leaving out the part about the handprint and the shadow that wore my old voice.
After breakfast, I climbed the stairs slow, knee complaining on every step, and fell into the bed that's been mine since high school, the mattress sagging in all the right places, sheets sun-dried and soft from the line in the backyard. Sunlight striped the room through half-closed blinds, dust motes floating lazy in the beams, and the distant sound of kids heading to school filtered through the window like a gentle reminder that the world keeps moving even when I stop. I set my phone on the nightstand, opened the Discord app one last time, and saw the night crew signing off. "Safe sleep, champ. Log the dreams." And I typed a quick "thanks, brothers" before the screen went dark. Sleep tugged at me, heavy and sweet, the kind that comes after a long fight, when your body finally admits it's done.
The paralysis arrived the way a slow song fades in. No crash, just a gentle weight settling over my chest, the room dimming, even though the sun was still high. And the familiar stillness locked my arms to the mattress, my legs under the quilt Mom made the year I turned pro. I breathed steady, counting box style like the Philly driver taught me. 4 in through the nose, 4 hold, 4 out through the mouth. And the air tasted of cinnamon and coffee lingering on my tongue. The passenger didn't rush this time. He simply appeared in the corner of the room where my old fight posters used to hang. Tall and hooded, gloves laced tight, the version of me that still had 2 good knees and a future bright as the arena lights. He didn't speak at first, just watched with eyes that knew every round I'd ever lost, every punch I didn't see coming. And the quiet between us stretched long and comfortable, like the pause before the bell. Then the voice came, low and familiar, rolling out the way Coach used to call instructions from the corner. Calm, but cutting straight to the bone. "You're slow now, Malik," it said, and the words floated across the room, settling on my chest, heavier than the paralysis itself. "Used to dance, used to sting. Now you just drive in circles." I felt the old shame rise, warm and bitter, the memory of the 10th round when my knee folded and the ref's arms wrapped around me like a surrender flag. The crowd's roar turned into murmurs, the headlines the next day calling it a tragedy instead of a fight. I wanted to argue, to tell him I still wake at 5 a.m. to run the stairs at the gym, still wrap my hands even if the bag is lighter now. But my mouth wouldn't open. My breath stayed measured, 4, 4, 4, steady as a heartbeat. The passenger stepped closer, boots soft on the carpet, until he stood at the foot of the bed, and I saw the scar over his left eyebrow, the same one I got from a headbutt in the state finals, the one that never quite healed right. "Slow hands, slow feet, slow life," he murmured, voice almost tender, the way a cornerman talks when he knows the fight's slipping away. Panic tried to spark, but I kept the count, letting the air fill me, pushed the shame back down where it belonged, and I spoke inside my head the way the Discord crew taught me. Calm and clear. "I'm not slow. I'm still moving, still carrying people home, still here." The passenger tilted his head, gloves creaking, and for a moment the room smelled of the old gym, liniment and leather, and the faint copper of blood. I focused on my right hand, the one that used to snap jabs faster than thought, and I pictured it moving, peeling away from the quilt, slow but sure, the way I used to circle an opponent who thought he had me cornered. My pinky twitched, then the ring finger, and the passenger smiled, small and sad, the way I must have looked the night I limped out of the ring for the last time. "Keep driving, champ," he said, voice fading into the sunlight, and the weight on my chest lifted, gentle as a referee raising the winner's arm. I woke fully at 11:47 a.m., no gasp, no sweat, just the quiet hum of the house and the smell of Mom's biscuits still lingering in the air. I reached for the phone, opened the notes, and typed slow, letting each word settle like dust in the sunbeams. 11:42 episode, bedroom, passenger equals old me. Said I'm slow, broke with breath and memory. No panic, knee quiet. He smiled goodbye. The afternoon stretched lazy, Mom in the garden, Aisha texting from college about midterms, and I sat on the porch with Scout's cousin, a pit mix named Blue, who visits on weekends, his head heavy on my good knee while I scrolled the Discord. The night crew was waking up across time zones, coffee emojis and stretch gifs, and I posted the log, short and simple. Replies drifted in soft as evening. That's integration, King. He's proud of you. Log the smile, gold. I leaned back, Blue snoring, the city humming gentle beyond the maple trees, and for the first time the passenger felt less like a ghost and more like a teammate who finally tapped out.
The afternoon drifted into evening the way a slow song fades at last call, soft and inevitable, with Mom's garden tools clinking gently in the shed, and Blue, the pit mix, snoring under the porch swing while I scrolled the Discord logs and let the sun warm the scar on my knee until it felt almost like the old days, when pain was just a reminder to wrap tighter. I'm Malik Jackson, 34, night shift Uber driver in Detroit. And the passenger who used to haunt the back seat had smiled and stepped back in my bedroom episode, leaving me with a quiet I hadn't known since before the injury. So I decided to build on that quiet, the way Coach used to build rounds, one smart habit at a time. Starting with sleep hygiene, the Discord crew kept preaching like gospel. No more Red Bull after midnight, no phone in bed, blackout curtains in the duplex bedroom, chamomile tea instead of coffee, a wind-down walk around the block with Blue's leash loose in my hand, and a firm lights out at 9 so I could bank hours before the night shift pulled me back onto the streets. I taped a little sign above the light switch, "Sleep like a champ," in Mom's neat handwriting, and she laughed when she saw it, pressing a kiss to my temple the way she did before big fights, whispering that her baby was finally listening to something besides the bell. The first night I followed every rule, the house settling around me like a glove, radiator ticking soft in the hall, Aisha's old wind chime singing from the porch when the breeze wandered through. And I lay in the dark with the new curtains drawn tight, breathing box style until the numbers blurred and sleep rolled over me gentle as a referee's count. The paralysis came anyway, patient as a stalker, slipping in around 2:12 a.m., when the city outside was nothing but distant sirens and the low hum of the freeway, and this time the weight settled across my chest like a seatbelt I couldn't unbuckle, but the passenger didn't stay in the back. He moved.
I felt the shift before I saw it, the mattress dipping at the edge, as if someone heavy swung their legs over the side. And when my eyes adjusted to the faint glow leaking around the curtains, I saw him clear, no longer in the corner or the mirror, but right there on the foot of the bed, then sliding slow and deliberate to the floor, boots silent on the rug, until he stood at the bedroom door that opened onto the hall. The door didn't creak, the house didn't stir, Mom slept down the hall and Blue didn't lift his head from the living room rug. Yet the passenger walked through that door as if it wasn't there and kept walking. And I knew without words that he was heading for the Charger parked in the drive, the car that had become his second home. My body stayed locked, breath measured in fours, but my mind followed him down the stairs, past the kitchen where the pancake skillet still hung on its hook, out the front door that sighed shut behind him, and into the night that smelled of frost and distant wood smoke. I heard the car door open, the familiar chirp of the lock disengaging, even though I had the keys in my pocket under the pillow, and then the soft thump of weight settling into the front passenger seat, the one I keep clear for groceries or the occasional rider who asks to sit up front because the back smells like puke from last week. The engine didn't start, the headlights stayed dark, but I felt the Charger rock gentle on its springs the way it does when someone big leans back and gets comfortable, and the passenger's voice drifted through the open window of my mind, low and easy like a cornerman between rounds. "Let's ride, Malik," he said. And the words weren't angry anymore, just tired, the way I sound after 12 hours on the road when the meter's off and the city's asleep. You drive, I'll navigate. Panic tried to rise, but I kept the box breathing steady, letting the air fill me slow and sure, and I spoke inside my head the way the Discord crew taught me, calm and clear. You're not taking the wheel. This is my shift, my car, my life. The passenger chuckled, a sound like gloves tapping canvas, and the weight on my chest shifted, lighter now, almost companionable, the way it feels when a sparring partner taps your glove to say, "Good round." I focused on my right hand, pictured it reaching for the keys, turning the ignition, taking control, and my fingers twitched under the quilt, then curled, then pushed flat against the mattress until the paralysis cracked open like a bell at the start of the fight. I woke at 2:18 a.m., no gasp, just a slow inhale that tasted of chamomile and home, and the bedroom was empty, the door still closed, Blue still snoring downstairs. I slipped from bed, barefoot on the cool wood, and padded to the window that looked over the drive. The Charger sat quiet under the streetlight, doors locked, windows clear. No fog, no handprint, but the front passenger seat was pushed back farther than I ever set it. The headrest tilted like someone tall had settled in for a long haul. I opened the Notes app, typed slow in the dark. 2:12 to 2:18 episode, hygiene perfect, passenger moved to front seat, said let's ride, broke with breath and control. Seat adjusted, he's waiting. I saved it, heart steady, and instead of fear I felt something new. Curiosity, the way I used to study an opponent's footage, looking for tells, for openings, for the moment to strike. The city outside was waking slow, bakery trucks rumbling, first buses hissing, and I stood at the window a long time, watching the Charger breathe with me, until the sky turned pearl and Mom's alarm sang soft down the hall.
Breakfast was quiet, pancakes lighter than air, Mom humming again, and I told her I'd be trying a new route tonight, maybe stick to the suburbs where the streets are wide and the meters run steady. She nodded, trusting, and I kissed her cheek before heading out to prep the car, vacuuming the mats, wiping the dash, adjusting the front seat back to my height, but leaving just a finger's width extra, an invitation maybe, or a challenge. The Discord pinged as I worked. Night Holler 22. Front seat equals promotion. He trusts you now. Drive safe, champ. I smiled, slid behind the wheel, and the leather creaked soft, almost welcoming, as the sun climbed high and the city yawned awake around us. The sun hung low and lazy over Detroit when I rolled the Charger out of the drive, painting the brick houses gold and turning the river into a ribbon of molten copper that wound through the city like a slow heartbeat, and I felt the front seat already claimed, even though the leather was empty and the seatbelt hung loose the way I'd left it. I'm Malik Jackson, 34, night shift Uber driver with a boxer's past, and a passenger who had graduated from the backseat to the co-pilot position, and the hygiene routine had bought me calm nights, but not empty ones, so I decided to share the ring with someone who understood the weight of invisible opponents. Rico, my old sparring partner turned day shift Uber veteran, was waiting at the Coney Island on Lafayette, his Silverado parked nose to nose with my Charger, and we claimed a booth by the window where the coffee steamed endless and the jukebox played old Motown, soft enough to talk over. Rico looked the same as he did at 25, thick through the chest, fade sharp, eyes that had seen too many dawns after too many rounds, and he slid a plate of chili fries between us like a peace offering while I told him everything, in a low, steady murmur that matched the rhythm of the city outside. I started with the first freeze at 14 in the duplex, Coach's voice calling me soft, moved through the knee that ended the dream, the divorce papers signed in a courthouse hallway, and landed on the passenger who now rode shotgun, adjusting the seat, leaving handprints, speaking in my own tired cadence about driving in circles. Rico listened the way he used to listen between rounds, head tilted, no judgment, just the quiet nod of a man who'd carried his own ghosts in the passenger seat of a cab long before ride shares had names.
When I finished, the coffee was cold and the fries were gone, and Rico leaned back against the red vinyl booth, arms folded, voice rolling out slow and warm like syrup over pancakes. Rico said, "Malik, you gotta talk to him." I blinked, the jukebox shifting to Marvin Gaye asking what's going on, and Rico continued, eyes steady on mine. Not fight him, not breathe him away, talk. He's you, champ, the part you parked in the garage when the knee went. Invite him to the conversation, ask where he wants to go. I laughed soft, the sound surprised out of me, because the idea felt as natural as slipping a jab and as strange as praying in the middle of the Lodge freeway at 3 a.m. We paid the bill and walked out into the evening, the air cool and thick with the smell of frying onions from the grill vent and the distant hum of the people mover gliding overhead. Enrico clapped my shoulder the way Coach used to before a title fight, firm and sure. Next time he slides in, he said, don't tense up. Offer him the aux cord. See what playlist he picks. I nodded, the weight of his words settling comfortable on my shoulders, and we parted with a fist bump that echoed the old days when the bell was about to ring. I drove home slow, windows down, letting the city breathe with me, the radio off for once, and when I parked in the drive, the front seat was still. No creak, no fog. Just the faint scent of Rico's cologne lingering like a promise.
That night, I followed the hygiene script to the letter. Chamomile tea steaming on the nightstand, blackout curtains drawn, Mom's wind chimes singing soft from the porch, and I lay in bed with the phone open to the Notes app, ready to log whatever came. But I added a new line at the top in Rico's honor. Talk to him. Sleep wrapped around me gentle. The house settling into its nighttime rhythm, radiator ticking, Blue snoring downstairs, and the paralysis arrived at 2:27 a.m. the way a familiar song fades in, weight settling light across my chest, the room dim and peaceful. The passenger didn't rush. He simply appeared in the bedroom doorway, then walked slow across the rug, past the dresser where my old gloves hung like trophies, and instead of looming, he sat on the edge of the mattress, weightless but present, gloves unlaced, hands resting easy on his knees. I kept the box breathing steady, 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out, letting the air move through me like a slow current, and I spoke inside my head the way Rico taught me, calm and curious. "Hey man, you want the aux cord?" The passenger turned, face clearer now in the faint glow of the alarm clock, and I saw myself at 25, eyes bright with arena lights, scar fresh over the eyebrow, and he smiled the small, tired smile of a fighter who knows the score. "Play something smooth," he said, voice low and warm. "No shame, no jab, just request." I pictured the phone in my mind, scrolled an imaginary playlist, landed on Luther Vandross because Mom's humming had followed me into the dream, and the first notes of A House Is Not a Home drifted through the room, soft as moonlight.
The weight on my chest eased into something companionable, like a cornerman's arm across your shoulders after the final bell, and I kept talking inside, words flowing easy. "Where you trying to go, champ?" The passenger leaned back against the headboard that wasn't really there, gloves forgotten, and answered in the same slow cadence. "Just along for the ride, Malik. You're doing the driving now." I felt the paralysis loosen the way a clinch breaks when both fighters agree the round is done, and my right hand moved on its own, fingers curling, then relaxing, the signal that I was free. I woke at 2:33 a.m., no startle, just a slow exhale that tasted of chamomile and Luther, and the bedroom was empty, the gloves on the dresser catching the first hint of dawn. I reached for the phone, typed gentle in the quiet. 2:27 to 2:33 episode, talked to passenger, offered aux cord, played Luther, he rode calm, broke easy, no fight, seat still adjusted. The Discord would love it come morning, but for now I lay back, the mattress warm, Blues snored drifting up the stairs, and I whispered to the empty room, "Pick you up at 9, partner." The city outside breathed with me, slow and steady, and sleep returned soft as the final note of the song.
The mornings, after talking to the passenger, felt like waking up in the corner between rounds with the cutman's ice still cool on my brow and the crowd's roar softened to a gentle hum. And I'm Malik Jackson, 34, night shift Uber driver rolling through Detroit with a ghost who now prefers the aux cord to the chokehold. The hygiene routine had become ritual. Chamomile steam curling from the mug Mom left on the nightstand, blackout curtains breathing with the draft from the old window, Blue the pit mix snoring downstairs like a steady bass line, and every night I invited the passenger the way Rico taught me, calm and curious, offering a playlist and a question instead of a fight. The paralysis still visited, but it arrived lighter, almost polite, and I started recording our conversations the way I used to log sparring sessions, phone on the pillow, voice memo running soft so the words wouldn't wake Mom or Blue. I'd fall asleep to the low glow of the record button and wake inside the episode with the passenger already settled in the front seat of my mind, gloves off, seat reclined. Luther or Marvin, or sometimes D'Angelo, drifting through the speakers that weren't really there. And I'd speak first, voice steady in the quiet of my skull. "What's the route tonight, partner?" He'd answer slow, the way cornermen do when they know the fighter's got more rounds in him, telling me about old gyms on Livernois that closed when we were kids, or the night I threw the hook that won the Golden Gloves, or the morning my ex-wife packed her bags while I slept off a double shift. The words floated easy between us. No shame, no jab, just memory laid out like a fighter's rap, layer after layer, until the weight on my chest felt like companionship instead of captivity.
One night the episode came at 2:41 a.m., the house wrapped in frost and the city outside hushed under a thin blanket of snow that muffled even the distant sirens, and the passenger was waiting in the passenger seat of the Charger parked in the drive, window cracked so the cold could drift in and keep us sharp. I spoke inside the dream, voice low over the hum of the idling engine that wasn't running. "You ever miss the lights, champ? The crowd?" He turned, face clear in the dashboard glow, scar over the eyebrow, silver in the moonlight, and answered soft, "Miss the feeling, not the fall. You kept the feeling, Malik. You drive it now." I felt the paralysis loosen the way a clinch breaks when respect passes between fighters, and I reached for the wheel in my mind, fingers curling sure, and the car rolled forward slow through streets that existed only in memory, past the old gym on Mack Avenue where Coach used to tape my hands, past the corner store where I bought ice for the knee the night it blew. I woke at 2:46 a.m., no jolt, just the gentle return of the room, Mom's wind chimes singing soft in the breeze, and I stopped the voice memo, played it back in the dark, my own voice calm and the passenger's answers layered beneath like a duet. The recording caught everything. The playlist, the route, the moment he said "you kept the feeling," and when I transcribed it into the Notes app, the words looked less like confession and more like strategy, a game plan for the rounds still to come. I posted a snippet to the Discord, talked route with passenger, he misses the lights but not the fall, voice memo gold, shadow softer, and the night crew answered sleepy but proud, "That's integration, King. Play it for him next time. Log the love."
The episodes kept coming, but they shortened. 5 minutes, 4, sometimes 3, and the passenger grew quieter, content to ride while I drove the conversation, asking about Mom's pancakes, about Aisha's college essays, about the new welterweight prospect at the gym who reminded me of myself at 19. One night, at 2:33 a.m., the paralysis barely touched down, just a whisper of weight, and the passenger sat in the front seat with the window down, snowflakes melting on the dash, and he said only 3 words before the spell broke on its own. "You're enough, champ." I woke smiling, voice memo catching the tail end of D'Angelo and my own soft laugh, and I typed in the notes, 2:33 episode, passenger said I'm enough, broke in 2 minutes, no breath needed,
shadow almost gone. Mom noticed the change over breakfast, the way I hummed while buttering biscuits, the way Blue leaned heavier on my good knee, and she asked, gentle, if the nights were easier now. I told her about the passenger who used to scare me but now just rides along, about the recordings that sound like old friends catching up, and she smiled the way she did the night I won my first belt, eyes shining with pride that didn't need words. Rico texted a fist bump emoji when I sent him the latest log, and the Discord crowned the thread from Backseat to co-pilot with a gold glove emoji. The Charger's front seat stayed adjusted a finger's width back, and open invitation, and the leather creaked only when I shifted gears, never on its own. Some nights the passenger didn't speak at all, just sat quiet while I drove us through memory lanes, past the hospital where Mom still works doubles, past the courthouse where the divorce was final, past the gym where Coach's voice finally faded into the background, and the paralysis lifted before I even reached for the breath count, leaving only the warmth of shared silence. I kept recording, kept logging, kept talking, and the shadow weakened the way a fighter tires in the late rounds when he knows the decision is already written. The city outside kept breathing with us, slow and steady, snow turning to rain, rain to spring blossoms. And I drove on, passenger beside me, playlist soft, the road ours.
The spring air rolled in warm and sweet through the open windows of the Charger, carrying the scent of lilacs from someone's backyard and the faint tang of the river as it woke up with the city. And I'm Malik Jackson, 34, night shift Uber driver who had turned the passenger from enemy to ally with nothing more than conversation and a shared playlist. The episodes had shrunk to whispers, 2 minutes at most. The shadow content to ride shotgun while I asked questions and he answered soft, and the voice memos filled my phone with late-night talks that sounded more like old friends than hauntings. Mom's garden bloomed purple along the fence. Aisha came home for spring break with stories of campus and new friends, and Rico convinced me it was time to step back into the ring, not to fight, but to remember. We met at the old gym on Mack Avenue, the one with the cracked brick and the faded mural of a boxer mid-hook, the place where Coach used to tape my hands and call me champ before the world knew my name. The building had changed hands twice since the injury, now run by a quiet veteran named Lena who kept the lights low and the music softer, and when I pushed through the doors, the smell of liniment and leather wrapped around me like a hug I hadn't known I missed. Rico was already there, shadowboxing slow in the far ring, his breath steady, and he grinned when he saw me, gloves dangling from his wrist like an invitation. "Thought you'd never come back, Malik," he said, voice warm over the low thump of R&B from the speakers, and I laughed soft, the sound echoing off the heavy bags that hung still in the afternoon light. I laced up my old gloves, the leather cracked but familiar, and stepped through the ropes with the knee clicking only once, a reminder more than a warning. And the ring felt smaller than memory, but safer too, the canvas worn smooth by countless feet. Rico and I moved easy, no power, just rhythm. Jabs floating, feet sliding, the way we used to warm up before sparring turned serious. And the gym filled with the soft pop of gloves and our breathing in sync. Lena watched from the corner, arms folded, nodding approval. And for the first time in years, the passenger didn't wait for the paralysis to appear. He simply stepped into the ring with us, visible in the afternoon light, tall and solid, wearing the same trunks I'd worn the night of the injury, scar bright over his eyebrow. He didn't speak at first, just mirrored my stance across the canvas, gloves up, eyes calm, and Rico stepped back to the ropes, sensing the shift the way cornermen sense when the real fight begins. I kept my guard loose, breath steady, and spoke aloud this time, voice low over the music. "You finally showed up in the daylight, champ." The passenger smiled, small and real, and answered in the same warm cadence we'd shared in the memos. "Had to see the ring one more time, Malik, with you." I nodded, feeling the canvas under my feet, the give of the ropes, the weight of the gloves, and I threw a slow jab that he slipped easy, the motion smooth as memory. We danced like that, no contact, just movement,
shadow and man trading places in the light, and I asked the questions I'd saved for the dark. Why the front seat? Why now? He answered between steps, voice drifting soft. Backseat was punishment. Front is partnership. You earned the wheel. The knee held, the heart stayed calm, and Lena watched quiet. Rico leaning on the turnbuckle with a grin that said he'd seen stranger things in this gym. The passenger threw a hook, slow motion, and I blocked it gentle, the glove tapping my forearm like a high five, and the gym smelled of sweat and possibility and the faint sweetness of lilacs through the open door.
I felt the moment stretch, time softening the way it does in dreams, and the passenger stepped closer, gloves down, eyes level with mine. One last round, Malik, then I ride quiet. I nodded, breath steady, and we moved again, jabs floating, feet sliding, the ring ours alone. The paralysis didn't come, no weight, no lock, just the two of us dancing in the daylight until the passenger faded slow, not into shadow, but into light, the scar over his eyebrow the last thing to vanish. I woke standing in the ring, gloves still up, Rico clapping slow from the corner, Lena smiling soft, and the canvas warm under my feet. I unlaced the gloves, hands steady, and opened the voice memo on my phone, recording aloud in the quiet gym. Daytime visit, old ring. Passenger danced, no paralysis. Said one last round, faded into light. Rico hugged me when I stepped out, Lena pressed a cold bottle of water into my hand, and the city outside hummed gentle, spring in full bloom. The Charger waited in the lot, front seat adjusted just right, and when I slid behind the wheel, the leather didn't creak, the mirrors stayed clear, and the passenger rode silent, content, the way a retired champ rides into the sunset.
The night air drifted cool and quiet through the cracked window of the Charger as I rolled slow along Jefferson Avenue, the river on my left shimmering under a half-moon that hung low and silver over the water. And I'm Malik Jackson, 34, night shift Uber driver who had danced with his passenger in the daylight ring and felt the shadows softened into something closer to memory than menace. The hygiene routine was second nature now. Chamomile tea cooling on the dash, playlist cued to Luther and D'Angelo, blackout curtains waiting at home, and the episodes had become rare visitors, polite knocks that lifted before I reached for the breath count. Rico called it retirement. Mom called it peace. The Discord crowned the thread co-pilot to legend, and the front seat stayed adjusted a finger's width back, an open door the passenger rarely used. I'd taken the night off from rides, no meter, no app, just a slow cruise through the city I'd driven 1,000 times, past the Ren-Sen lights blinking sleepy, past Hart Plaza, where festivals would bloom come summer, past the old gym on Mac, where Lena now locked up alone. The Charger purred gentle, tires humming over fresh asphalt, and I spoke aloud to the empty car, voice low over the music. One last ride, champ, wherever you want to go. The leather didn't creak, the mirrors stayed clear, but the air shifted warm, like someone had turned up the heat a notch, and the passenger settled into the front seat without sound, visible in the moonlight, gloves gone, wearing the plain gray tee I'd worn the night I won the Golden Gloves.
He didn't speak at first, just looked out the window as we rolled past Belle Isle, the conservatory dome glowing soft, the trees heavy with new leaves, and I kept the speed easy, hands loose on the wheel, letting the city unroll like a highlight reel. We passed the spot on Gratiot where the first handprint appeared, the Coney Island where Rico and I shared chili fries, the duplex where Mom's porch light still burned for me, and the passenger turned then, eyes calm, scar silver in the dash light. "Pull over here, Malik," he said, voice soft as the river, and I eased the Charger onto a quiet overlook where the water lapped gentle against the rocks and the city lights danced on the surface. I cut the engine, the sudden quiet wrapping around us like a blanket, and the passenger leaned back, seat reclining smooth, hands resting easy on his lap. "This is the stop," he said. And I nodded, breath steady, no paralysis, no weight, just the two of us in the moonlight. I spoke first, words drifting slow. "You kept me sharp, partner. Kept me moving when I wanted to park." He smiled, the same small smile from the ring, and answered warm, "You did the driving, champ. I just rode along." The air smelled of water and lilacs, and the faint sweetness of spring, and I felt the moment stretch, time soften in the way it does when the final bell rings and the gloves come off. I reached for the phone, started the voice memo one last time, and let the quiet record the river and the distant hum of the city, and the passenger spoke again, voice fading gentle into the night. "Tell Mom the pancakes were the real title fight. Tell Rico the hook still lands. Tell the Discord the shadow retired undefeated." I laughed soft, the sound mixing with the water, and he continued, eyes on the moon. "You don't need me in the mirror anymore, Malik. You kept the feeling." The seat adjusted itself forward, slow and sure, back to my height, and the passenger faded into the moonlight, not into shadow, but into memory, the scar over his eyebrow the last thing to vanish.
I sat a long time, the river lapping, the city breathing, and when I finally started the engine, the Charger felt lighter, the wheel familiar under my hands, the playlist moving to the next song on its own. I drove home slow, windows down, letting the spring air wash through, and parked in the drive where Mom's porch light glowed steady. The house was quiet, Blue snoring soft, Mom's wind chimes singing, and I slipped into bed without the tea, without the curtains, sleep coming instant and deep. No episode came, no weight, no voice, just the gentle hum of the city and the warmth of a fight well fought. Morning found me on the porch with coffee, Blue's head heavy on my knee, Mom's garden blooming purple, and I opened the Notes app one last time, typing slow in the sunlight. Last ride, river overlook, passenger retired, said tell Mom, Rico, Discord, seat back to mine, no episode, peace. I posted the log to the Discord, the final entry, and the night crew answered with gloves raised and hearts full. The Charger sat in the drive, mirror clear, leather quiet, and I drove the day shift for the first time in years. Meter running, playlist soft, the city mine alone.
The summer sun rose warm and golden over Detroit, painting the duplex porch in soft light and turning Mom's garden into a riot of purple coneflowers and black-eyed Susans that swayed gentle in the morning breeze. And I'm Malik Jackson, 34, Uber driver who had retired as passenger with a quiet ride to the river and a final playlist that still played soft in my memory. The nights belonged to me now. No episodes, no wait, just deep sleep that left me waking, rested, and ready. The Charger's front seat set exactly to my height, the mirror clear, the leather quiet unless I shifted gears. Mom noticed the spring in my step. Aisha teased me about humming Luther while mowing the lawn, and Rico clapped my back every time our paths crossed at the Coney Island, calling me the champ who finally went the distance. I'd switched to a mix of day and night shifts, the meter running steady, tips flowing easy from riders who liked the smooth ride and the playlist that never skipped a beat, and the Discord thread had gone legendary. Drivers from across the country quoting my logs like scripture, the voice memos passed around like fight tapes. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the river caught fire with orange and pink, a new message popped up in the chat from a driver named Trey, 26, night shift in Cleveland, voice shaky in the attached clip. "Malik, man, I got a passenger too. Backseat, says I'm washed up, former college ball. Help!" I listened to the clip twice, the kid's fear familiar as my own old gloves, and I knew the bell was ringing for a new round, not for me, but for him.
I met Trey the next weekend, driving the Charger across the state line to Cleveland, where the lake air smelled of fish and industry and the streets rolled wide under a sky just turning dusk. He was waiting outside a 24-hour diner on Euclid Avenue, tall and lean, knee brace peeking from under his jeans, eyes wide the way mine used to be before a big fight. We claimed a booth by the window, coffee steaming between us, and I let him talk first, words tumbling out slow and heavy about the episodes that started after his scholarship ended with a torn ACL, the shadow that rode backseat and whispered washed up every time he pulled over to breathe. I listened the way Rico listened to me, head tilted, no rush, and when he finished, I slid my phone across the table, opened the Notes app, and played the final river ride, the passenger's soft goodbye, the seat adjusting itself. Trey's eyes softened as Luther played low, and I spoke calm over the music, voice steady the way Coach used to call instructions from the corner. He's not your enemy, Trey. He's the part you parked when the knee went. Talk to him. Offer the aux cord. Ask where he wants to go. Trey nodded slow, coffee cooling, and I walked him through the hygiene routine, the box breathing, the voice memos, the patterns that turned shame into strategy. We sat long after the diner emptied, the jukebox cycling through old hits, and I shared the logs, the handprints, the dance in the daylight ring, the retirement at the river overlook. Trey recorded it all on his phone, voice steadying with every story, and when we parted at dawn, he hugged me tight, the way fighters do when they know the next round is theirs.
I drove home slow, windows down, letting the lake air mix with the city smells, and the Charger felt full in a new way. The legacy of the passenger passed forward like a torch. The Discord welcomed Trey with open gloves, the night crew guiding him through his first talk, his first breath count, his first soft episode, and I posted gentle updates, the mentor now, the champ who'd gone the distance. Mom baked peach cobbler when I told her. Aisha sent Trey a care package of chamomile and Motown playlists, and Rico grinned wide when we sparred light at Lena's gym, the ring warm under our feet. The night stayed mine, sleep deep, dreams light, and sometimes in the quiet before dawn, I'd wake with a smile, feeling the passenger's nod from wherever retired shadows rest, proud that the wheel was steady in new hands. Detroit rolled on, river shining, garden blooming, and I drove with the playlist soft, the city breathing with me. The fight passed forward, the bell rung clear.
The months drifted warm and steady through Detroit like the river current that carried barges slow and sure under the Ambassador Bridge, and I'm Malik Jackson, 34, Uber driver who had passed the torch to Trey in Cleveland and watched the flame catch in drivers across the map. The Discord swelling into a quiet army of night shift warriors, trading logs and playlists and breath counts. Trey's episode softened first, his shadow moving from backseat to co-pilot the way mine had, his voice memos filling with calm conversations about college courts and torn ACLs and the day he'd dance again. And when he posted the river ride retirement, the chat crowned him Rookie Champ, with glove emojis raining soft. Mom baked extra cobbler for the stories I brought home. Aisha designed a logo for the group, a steering wheel wrapped in boxing tape, and Rico turned Lena's gym into a monthly meetup where drivers sparred light and shared strategies under the low lights. We gathered the first Saturday of every month, the ring warm with laughter and the smell of liniment and coffee from the pot Lena kept brewing, and drivers came from Toledo, Grand Rapids, even Chicago, pulling up in sedans and SUVs with tired eyes and steady hands. I stood in the center, gloves off, voice low over the music, and walked them through the routine the way Coach once walked me through footwork. Hygiene first, breath second, talk third, log always. Trey flew in for the second meet, knee brace gleaming, shadow retired, and he took the mic gentle, telling the circle about the night his passenger asked for "A house is not a home" and faded into moonlight. The room listened quiet, the heavy bags still, the
the city humming soft outside the open door. New drivers joined every month, their shadows different but familiar. Truckers with ghosts of the road, cabbies with ex-wives in the mirror, a nurse who drove part-time and saw patients who'd passed. I taught them to offer the aux cord, to ask, "Where to, champ?" to record the ride. And the logs poured in like fight tapes, patterns emerging soft and sure. One driver from Flint, a former factory worker named Dee, posted her first calm episode after 3 weeks. Shadow said, "Tell my kids I'm proud." Broke in 90 seconds. Seat adjusted itself. Another from Ann Arbor, a grad student named Sam, shared a voice memo of his passenger humming "Superstar" before vanishing into dawn. The Discord grew into a sanctuary, voice channels open 24/7, playlists curated, breath circles at midnight. I drove less at night now, more by day, the charger's meter running steady, tips flowing from riders who never knew the war that had been fought in the front seat. Mom's Garden fed the gym meetups, cobbler and lemonade passed around the ring, and Aisha live-streamed the sessions for drivers too far to travel, the chat filling with hearts and gloves. Rico sparred with the new ones, light and easy, showing them how to slip a jab the way you slip a shadow. And Lena kept the lights low, the music soft, the space safe. Trey became co-mentor, his calm voice guiding rookies through their first talks. And when a driver from Toronto posted, "Shadow retired at the lake," said, "Tell Malik the torch is bright," I smiled in the quiet of the duplex, Blue's head heavy on my knee, Mom's wind chimes singing soft in the breeze. The city rolled on, spring turning to summer, festivals blooming in Hart Plaza, the river shining under fireworks, and the group grew into a family, drivers meeting in person or online, shadows retiring one by one into memory and moonlight. I kept the final log open, adding gentle updates, Trey's first shadow-free month, Dee's kids visiting the gym, Sam's graduation ride with the passenger humming proud, and the Discord crowned the thread, the collective ring with a gold belt emoji. The Chargers sat in the drive, mirror clear, leather quiet, and I drove with the playlist soft, the city breathing with me, the fight passed forward, the bell rung clear for all. The summer evenings stretched long and golden over Detroit, the sun hanging low and lazy behind the Rensen Towers, painting the river in slow ripples of copper and rose that drifted gentle under the bridge where gulls wheeled and called in the warm-up draft. And I'm Malik Jackson, 34, Uber driver turned mentor who had built a quiet legion of night shift warriors trading breath counts and voice memos like championship belts. The Charger's front seat stayed set to my height, the mirror clear, the leather still unless I shifted gears, and the passenger had retired to memory, his final words about the torch burning bright echoing soft in the Discord logs that now spanned cities and time zones. Mom's Garden overflowed with tomatoes and basil, Aisha's logo, a steering wheel wrapped in boxing tape, adorned t-shirts at Lena's gym, and Rico kept the monthly meetups running smooth, the ring warm with coffee steam and the low thump of R&B that never quite drowned the laughter. I'd been driving days more than nights, the meter steady, tips flowing from riders who sensed the calm behind the wheel, and the episodes had vanished entirely, leaving only the occasional dream where the passenger rode shotgun, humming Luther, window down, city lights sliding past like old fight footage. Trey had taken the lead on rookie guidance, his voice steady in the voice channels. Dee's kids now helped Lena sweep the gym. Sam's graduation ride had become legend with the passenger humming proud in the background. And the collective ring grew into something bigger than any of us had planned. Drivers meeting in person across state lines, breath circles at midnight, playlists curated by shadow and man alike. Mom baked cobbler for every new retirement. Aisha live-streamed the sessions, and the city seemed to breathe with us, slow and sure, the river carrying our stories downstream.
One evening, as the sun dipped low and the air turned thick with the scent of grilling meat from backyard barbecues and the distant hum of the people mover gliding overhead, Rico pulled me aside after a meetup, the gym quiet except for the soft creak of the heavy bags and the low murmur of drivers packing up. He pressed a pair of new gloves into my hands, leather supple and red, the laces crisp, and his eyes held the same fire they'd had the night we sparred before my title fight. "Time to step back in, Malik," he said, voice low over the fading music. "Not to fight, but to coach. Lena's got a kid, 17, fast hands, scared of his own shadow, needs the champ who tamed his." I laughed soft, the sound echoing off the canvas, and felt the old pull, the ring calling gentle the way the river calls home boats. I started the next morning, the gym cool and dim, the kid Jamal waiting by the speed bag, tall and lean, eyes wide the way mine had been at 14 when coach first taped my hands. His shadow wasn't paralysis yet, just doubt, the kind that freezes a fighter before the bell, and I saw myself in the slump of his shoulders, the way he rubbed his wrists like they already hurt. We began slow, footwork first, the canvas warm under our sneakers, the bag still in the early light. And I spoke calm, the way I'd spoken to my passenger, offering the aux cord of the ring. "Where you trying to go, champ?" Jamal answered shy, about college scouts, about his mom working doubles, about the fear that he'd blow it like his older brother who never left the block. We moved through rounds, jabs floating, guards loose, and I taught him the breath count between combinations, 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out. The way the discord had taught me, the way the passenger had taught me to listen. The gym filled with the soft pop of gloves and our breathing in sync, Lena watching from the corner, Rico nodding slow, and Jamal's eyes brightened with every slip, every block, the doubt softening the way my shadow had softened under moonlight. I brought the voice memo tradition to the ring, recording our talks after sessions, Jamal's voice growing steady as he logged patterns. Fear spikes after mom's late shift, breath calms it, hook lands cleaner, and the kid started smiling the way I'd smiled the night the passenger retired. At the river.
Word spread gentle through the collective ring, drivers sending their own kids to Lena's gym, the meetup swelling with young fighters who carried shadows not in mirrors, but in hearts. And I coached them all. Gloves off, voice low, the ring warm with coffee and cobbler and the low thump of Motown. Trey flew in to help, his knee brace a badge of honor. Dee's kids swept the mats. Sam brought his diploma to hang by the heavy bags, and the passenger returned not as haunt, but as trainer, appearing soft in the corner of my eye during sessions, gloves up, nodding approval when Jamal threw a hook that snapped clean. He never spoke, just watched, scars silver in the gym light, and I'd nod back, the silent partnership complete. The city rolled on, summer deepening, festivals blooming in Hart Plaza, the river shining under fireworks that lit the sky in slow cascades of color, and the gym became sanctuary, drivers and fighters breathing together, shadows retiring into memory and moonlight. Mom's garden fed the sessions, Aisha's logo on every t-shirt, Rico's laugh echoing off the ropes, and I coached with the playlist soft, the canvas warm, the fight passed forward gentle and sure. The Charger sat in the drive, mirror clear, leather quiet, and I drove with the windows down, the city breathing with me, the bell rung clear for the next generation.
The autumn leaves drifted slow and golden over Detroit, painting the streets in soft carpets of red and amber that crunched gentle under the Charger's tires as I rolled through the city with the windows down and the river air cool and crisp against my skin, carrying the faint scent of wood smoke from early chimneys and the distant promise of winter. I'm Malik Jackson, 34, Uber driver turned mentor coach who had built the collective ring into a family of night shift warriors and young fighters. The gym warm with coffee steam and the low thump of Motown, the Discord logs glowing with retired shadows and new beginnings,
The passenger had settled into the role of silent trainer, appearing soft in the corner of my eye during sessions, scar silver in the gym light, nodding approval when Jamal's hook snapped clean or when Trey guided a rookie through their first breath count. Mom's garden had given way to pumpkins lining the porch, Aisha's logo now stitched on gym banners, and Rico kept the monthly meetups running smooth, the ring alive with laughter and the soft pop of gloves. The idea for the tournament came gentle one evening after a session, the gym quiet except for the creak of the heavy bags and the low murmur of drivers packing up, Lena wiping down the canvas with a towel that smelled of bleach and lemon. Trey leaned against the ropes, knee brace gleaming, and spoke soft over the fading music. "We should give them a bell, Malik, a real one. Drivers spar light, fighters shadow box, everyone breathes together." I nodded slow, the vision unfolding warm and sure, a night where shadows retired in the ring instead of the mirror, where breath counts replaced fear, where the city gathered to watch the collective ring go the distance. We planned it careful. The first Saturday in November, Hart Plaza under string lights, the rivers shining beside us, the gym's heavy bags moved to an open-air setup, the Discord live streaming for drivers too far to travel.
We called it the Midnight Miles Tournament, open to all, Uber drivers, cabbies, truckers, young fighters, anyone who'd carried a shadow in the passenger seat or the heart. The rules were simple, no power, just rhythm, 3-minute rounds of light sparring or shadow boxing, breath counts announced between bells, voice memos playing soft from speakers so the crowd could hear the conversations that tamed the ghosts. Mom baked cobbler for days. Aisha designed posters with the steering wheel and boxing tape logo glowing gold. Rico handled the brackets. Lena secured the permits. And Jamal, now 18, eyes bright with college scouts, became the ring announcer, voice steady over the microphone. The city buzzed gentle, words spreading through the Discord, drivers caravanning from Cleveland, Toledo, Chicago, the gym swelling with t-shirts and tired smiles. The night arrived cool and clear, the plaza lit soft with string lights that reflected in the river like fallen stars, the stage set with canvas and ropes under a canopy of autumn leaves, the air thick with the smell of cobbler and coffee and the faint sweetness of the river. Drivers rolled in slow, sedans and SUVs parking nose to nose, young fighters stretching on the grass, the Discord live stream glowing on big screens Aisha had borrowed from campus. I stood in the center, gloves off, voice low over the music, and welcomed them warm, the way Coach used to welcome a new kid to the gym. "This ain't about winning," I said, the microphone soft in my hand. "It's about going the distance. Breathe with me." The crowd inhaled together, 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out, the river lapping gentle beside us, the city breathing slow.
The brackets began easy, drivers sparring light, jabs floating, feet sliding, breath counts announced between rounds, voice memos playing soft. Shadow said, "Tell my kids I'm proud." Passenger retired at the lake. Hook lands cleaner now. Young fighters shadow boxed beside them, Jamal calling the time, Trey guiding rookies through their first talks, D's kids passing cobbler on paper plates. The passenger appeared soft in the corner of my eye, scar silver under the string lights, nodding approval when a driver from Flint slipped a jab and smiled, when a cabbie from Chicago breathed through a round and retired his ghost mid-spar. The crowd cheered gentle, no roar, just warmth, the river shining, the leaves drifting slow. I coached from the corner, voice steady, the way the passenger had coached me in memory, offering the aux cord of the ring. "Where you trying to go, champ?" And the fighters answered with hooks and breath, shadows fading into moonlight. The final round paired Jamal with Trey, light sparring, no power, just rhythm.
the bell ringing soft, the crowd breathing in sync. Jamal's hook snapped clean, Trey slipped easy, and the passenger stepped into the ring visible to all, tall and calm, gloves down, smiling the small smile of a champ who'd gone the distance. He raised Jamal's hand, then Trey's, then mine, and faded gentle into the string lights, the scar the last thing to vanish. The tournament ended with cobbler and coffee under the stars, the river lapping, the city humming soft. The Discord live-streamed crowned Midnight Miles champion with gold gloves reigning. Mom hugged every driver. Aisha captured the moments on camera. Rico clapped backs. Lena locked the gear. And the plaza emptied slow, sedans rolling out with tired smiles and retired shadows. I drove home gentle, windows down, the charger light, the mirror clear, the playlist soft, the city breathing with me, the bell rung clear for all.
The spring returned soft and fragrant to Detroit, the river running high with snowmelt and the cherry blossoms blooming pink along Belle Isle like gentle promises whispered to the warming air. And I'm Malik Jackson, 35 now, mentor coach of the Collective Ring. Jamal off to college on a boxing scholarship, with Trey as his long-distance cornerman. Dee's kids sweeping mats and dreaming of gloves. Sam streaming breath circles from grad school in California. Mom's garden burst with lilacs and peonies. Aisha's logo now on banners across the city. And Rico kept the meetups warm with coffee and cobbler. The Discord, a living archive of retired shadows and new beginnings. Love arrived quiet the way a good combination lands, clean and sure, in the form of Lena, who had watched me coach from the corner with eyes that saw past the scar and the limp to the champ still moving. We'd shared late nights after sessions, cleaning the gym while Motown played low, talking about shadows and second rounds, her laugh soft over the creak of the heavy bags. The proposal came gentle on the river overlook, where the passenger had retired, the moon full and silver, the charger idling soft, and I offered her a ring instead of an aux cord, asking, "Where to, champ?" She said yes with tears and a kiss that tasted of cobbler and home, and the wedding plans unfolded warm and slow. The gym transformed into a sanctuary of string lights and blossoms, the river invited to witness. The day arrived golden and warm. The gym doors opened to the breeze, canvas rolled back to reveal hardwood polished smooth, tables draped in Mom's lace tablecloths, Aisha's logo glowing on banners that swayed gentle overhead. Drivers came from across the map, sedans and SUVs lining Mack Avenue, young fighters in crisp shirts, the Discord live streaming for those too far to travel. Mom baked cobbler for days, peaches and berries filling the air with sweetness. Rico walked Lena down the aisle of heavy bags turned flower arches. Jamal read a poem about breath and distance. Trey stood best man with knee brace gleaming. I waited at the altar under string lights, gloves retired on a pedestal beside the rings, heart steady the way it hadn't been since the final bell. Lena appeared radiant in ivory that caught the light like river mist, her smile calm and sure, and we spoke vows soft over the low thump of Luther, promising to drive the miles together, to offer the aux cord in storms, to breathe through every round. The passenger appeared gentle in the corner of my eye, scar silver under the blossoms, gloves down, nodding proud. And when the officiant pronounced us married, the gym filled with cheers, warm as cobbler. The river lapping outside, the city breathing with us. He stepped forward, visible to all, tall and calm in the gray tea of memory, and raised our joined hands the way he'd raised Jamal's and Trey's, then faded soft into the string lights, the scar the last thing to vanish.
The reception unfolded easy. Tables heavy with cobbler and coffee, drivers sparring light on the canvas-turned dance floor, Young fighters shadowboxing slow to the music, breath counts whispered between laughs. Mom danced with Rico. Aisha captured every moment. Jamal announced toasts with voice steady. Trey guided rookies through their first wedding breath circle. The Discord chat rained hearts and gloves. Livestream crowned Champion Union. And we cut the cake under blossoms that drifted gentle like snow. Lena's hand warm in mine, the ring warm on my finger. We honeymooned slow along the lake, the charger light, windows down, playlist soft, stopping at overlooks where shadows had retired and new ones were born. The gym thrived in our absence, Lena's vision steady, the collective ring growing gentle into community centers and online circles, drivers and fighters breathing together across miles. The passenger visited once more in dreams, riding shotgun under stars, humming proud, then faded for good, his job complete. Mom's garden fed the next tournament. Aisha's banners flew higher, and I coached with Lena beside me, the ring warm, the city breathing. The bell rung clear for love.
The years flowed gentle and full through Detroit, like the river that carried spring blossoms and autumn leaves in equal measure, turning the city into a living tapestry of seasons that wrapped warm around the duplex, where Mom's garden now spilled over the fence and into the alley, lilacs giving way to sunflowers that nodded heavy in the summer breeze. I'm Malik Jackson, 37, coach of the Collective Ring, whose Midnight Miles tournament had grown into a city tradition under string lights and river stars, the gym thriving under Lena's steady hand and mine, Jamal winning collegiate belts with Trey's voice in his ear, Dee's kids lacing gloves, Sam streaming breath circles from a professorship in California. The charger still rolled smooth, day shifts mostly, meter steady, playlist soft, and the passenger had retired to memory, his final nod at the wedding fading into the blossoms that now lived in Lena's hair when she laughed. Life deepened slow and sure, the duplex expanding with a nursery painted soft blue, the crib hand-built by Rico from Gymwood that smelled of liniment and love, and Lena's belly rounded warm under my hand as we coached side by side, breath counts whispered between rounds, the ring warm with young fighters and drivers who carried no shadows anymore. The pregnancy unfolded gentle, Mom baking cobbler with extra cinnamon, Aisha designing onesies with the steering wheel and boxing tape logo, the Discord live streaming baby kicks and breath circles for expectant drivers across the map. We named him Miles, after the tournament, after the miles we'd driven together, after the distance the passenger had traveled from haunt to hero.
The night he arrived came cool and clear, the hospital quiet except for the soft hum of monitors and the river visible through the window, moonlight silver on the water. Lena breathed steady through the contractions, 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out, the way I'd taught her, the way the passenger had taught me, and I held her hand warm, voice low over the beeps, offering the aux chord of the moment. Where to, champ? Miles entered the world with a cry strong and sure, eyes dark like his mother's, fists tiny but clenched like a fighter ready for the bell. The nurses wrapped him soft, Mom wept happy tears in the corner, Rico clapped my back gentle, and the passenger appeared one last time, visible in the moonlight that spilled through the glass, scar silver, gloves down, smiling proud. He didn't speak, just stepped close to the bassinet, hand hovering warm over Miles' brow, then turned to me and Lena, nodding slow the way a cornerman nods when the fight is won clean. The room smelled of lilacs from the vase Mom had brought. The river lapped outside. The city breathed soft. And the passenger raised Miles' tiny fist the way he'd raised ours at the wedding, then faded gentle into the moonlight, the scar the last thing to vanish.
I felt the moment settle warm. The torch passed forward one final time. The shadow retired for good into the legacy of breath and love.
We brought Miles home to the duplex, the nursery glowing soft, Blue the pit mix sniffing curious, then settling guard at the crib, Mom's cobbler waiting on the counter, Aisha live streaming the first breath circle for new parents in the collective ring. The gym thrived with young voices, Jamal calling rounds from college via video, Trey guiding rookies, Dee's kids teaching breath to toddlers, Sam's students joining from afar. The Midnight Miles tournament grew to include strollers and baby carriers, cobbler past gentle, shadows born and retired under string lights and river stars. The years drifted on, Miles growing tall and fast, gloves small on his hands, breath steady between jabs. The charger passed to him one day with the playlist soft and the mirror clear. I coached with Lena, graying warm at the temples, the ring eternal, the city breathing, the bell rung clear for generations. The passenger lived in stories told soft at bedtime, in breath counts whispered before sleep, in the gentle nod I gave the moonlight when it spilled through the nursery window. Detroit rolled on, river shining, garden blooming, and we drove the miles together. The fight passed forward, the shadow home at last.